get ready with me as I get ready for my piano lessons for the day. Start by spraying my face with this. And then I'll move on to my moisturizer. We've had a rather depressing week at our house. Not that you want to do your makeup like me because I don't know what I'm doing, but it has been a struggle at our house this week. We've been on a weight loss journey of sorts, and not a sorts, just a weight loss journey. And as soon as I reached 20 pounds down, all of a sudden my weight jumped up like 10 pounds, like pretty much overnight. And I do have like, I do have PCOS, and I think a lot of that has something to do with that, but I've been trying to just work harder and stay consistent, which is really the biggest thing when you have 4 kids in a very busy life, is just trying to stay. But finding the consistency to do anything when you have 4 children and your husband's working 2 jobs and you have like 5 or 6 piano lessons, not including your own kids, getting them to their piano lessons. It's really hard to stay consistent. So I think the best thing I can do is stay consistent at this point and just try to trust the process and keep watching what I'm eating and trying not to restrict too much, because that is, believe it or not, a problem I do have a little bit whenever I start trying to lose weight, is I just restrict so much that I'm not, some days I don't eat at all, and that's not helpful at all to my weight loss. So that is something I'm trying to stop doing and trying to really just pay attention to what I am eating and making sure I do eat and I eat the right things to fuel my body. And like, you know, I don't know if you have PCOS, whoever's watching this, but like one thing it does make you do is crave sugar, and that's like my biggest problem, is craving sugar. And that's a problem, because I just can't have sugar in the house at all. And thankfully my kids can't control themselves around sugar either, and they end up, you know, taking a little extra if we're not paying attention. So unless there's like holidays or special occasions, we try not to keep it in the house. Speaking of all the sweets and stuff, one of my favorite traditions, and I might do a whole just video on some of my favorite traditions that we've started implementing in our family, but one of my favorite traditions to help battle the sweet monster in our house that just overtakes all of us, except for my husband because he doesn't like sweets, is I make all the kids' birthday cakes. Let me start with that. I have a short on here where I tried to emulate my second birthday cake for my 2-year-old's birthday, since she likes Winnie the Pooh. And you should check that out if you get a chance. You don't get to see the whole process, but you do get to see a decent amount. But anyways, I make all the kids' birthday cakes. And so we always end up like with a ton of cake left over because I make entirely too much cake for the parties we have. And we end up like, we have several sets of parties. We have one for my parents and my husband's stepmom and dad. And then we have one for his mom's family, my husband's mom's family. And then we have one after church with all of our kids' friends from church. And so we have those 3 parties. I usually only make like cupcakes for like my parents and my husband's stepmom and dad. But because they don't really eat a cake a whole lot, even like for birthdays, and it's just us. So making a whole cake doesn't really make sense. When my husband's mom's family comes over, that's like aunts and his cousins and his cousins' kids, like they all come. So there's about 15 of us when they come. I always do my practice cake with them, but there's always like there's like 15 of us when they come. So I do my practice cake with them, and then I know what to do for the cake the next weekend. So like we do bookend weekends. Like the first weekend is typically family, and then the next Sunday we try to do church friends and family with it that goes to church with us and stuff. And so we end up with a bunch of cake, because even like when you're making, we end up with like 40 or 50 people at our house, and that's just families, because our church has big families, and like even only inviting a handful of them, we end up with about 30 people at least. So we end up with a lot of cake. Basically, we end up cake left over from his mom's family, and then cupcakes left over from grandparents, and then we have the cake left over from the party with our friends, with our church friends. So we started a tradition, and this goes with like any holiday that I bake sweets at. It's just with 4 kids and the 2 of us, we have a lot of birthday cake throughout the year. So what we do is we wrap it up, and save it how you're supposed to save cake, put it in the fridge. And the next morning we have birthday breakfast, and like everybody gets a piece of cake with their breakfast, and then the cake gets thrown out. Like we do not keep it past that. And there have been very few exceptions to this rule, but we pretty much throw it out that next morning after everybody gets a piece of cake. And then it's done. We have no more sweets in the house. There's nothing left tempting me or causing my kids to get bad attitudes or be tempted to steal a sweet. I have one kid who is like me and just addicted to sweets, so it's just best if we get rid of it as quickly as possible. And we do that with like every holiday. So like if I make a pie or something for Thanksgiving and I end up with it, coming home, nobody wants to keep it, so I take it home. We do the same thing with that. Or any kind of sweet like that's made for a special occasion. We get rid of it. The only exception to that rule is cookies, because they are, more individually like serving sized. And it doesn't take up a whole lot of room, and like we can just, they end up gone pretty quick because we have friends and stuff over, and it's just easy to be like, yeah, grab you a cookie, go have fun. So that's one of my favorite traditions that we've really implemented in the past year or two since I've started making their cakes. I also like the tradition of just making their birthday cakes. It's not always the best, and I'll try to put some pictures in here of different cakes I've done. My first one was very ambitious. I used a lot of fondant. It was Mario themed. Like that was my first serious one, and it was a mess and it was stressful, but it turned out okay. And then I made, let's see, a fairy cake that turned out really good. That it looked like the fairies were sitting on a log. And I really lean into like buying figurines and putting them on the cake. But my favorite one has been the Winnie the Pooh cake. It's just been the least stressful. And the fairy cake. The fairy cake was super chill and not stressful. I also did like a Rainbow Road Mario Kart cake for my 7-year-old. That turned out really nicely. So that's like something I really enjoy doing. And if that's something y'all would like to see more of, like me baking and stuff like that, I enjoy baking. If that's something y'all would like to see, put it in the comments and let me know. I've got to keep getting ready while I'm doing this. I forget. So my hair is going to be a mess because it's just a curly mess and I threw it up. And I slept with it up, and I usually don't do that. I usually put it in a bonnet of some sort. But I'm going to spray it a little bit with some dry shampoo just to, because I know through the day it's going to get a little oily right in these areas in the front of my head and right at the crown of my head. There we go. Let that dry a little bit and then I'll rub it in. But if that's something y'all would like to see, leave a comment below and like and follow so that you can see all that. But I really enjoy doing that for my family. Like I said, my husband doesn't really like cakes, so I usually make him like an apple pie or something, or some sort of cinnamon roll, something that I know he will also like. Is this curly hair? What is this? I don't know. I think it's wavy. I just have a little bit of gel in it. I've been following this routine, which was like the worst curly girl method routine or something that I found on TikTok. I think I mentioned that last week. I'm not sure. But, and like I just brush it right before I get in the shower. And then I shower like normal. Like she double shampoos and I don't typically do that. But I do sometimes, like I probably will the next time I wash my hair because I put so much dry shampoo in it. Just to make sure it's nice and clean. And then she conditions like normal, washes it out, doesn't, and like my hair can't do leave-in conditioner because it just gets weighted down so bad and just so greasy. So I can't do like the leave-in conditioners. But you get out, you don't brush it again, you put mousse in it and kind of glaze and then scrunch, and then you put gel in it and do the same thing, and then you diffuse dry it to like 60% dry, 60 to 80% dry, and then you do gel again and glaze it and scrunch it again. And like I'm kind of like, this is obviously second day, it was up all night in a ponytail, but like I do like the way it looks, but I don't know like if this, what you would classify this hair as. Like if I don't do anything to it, like don't brush it, don't do anything, like I do have like these pretty prominent like waves. I don't know, they're definitely not coily curls, but like something. But like it frizzes up real bad if I don't put anything in it, so it doesn't end up looking very nice. Sometimes it does. There's very rare occasions that it ends up looking nice without anything in it, and I will wear it out. But anyway, so that's what I've been doing with my hair, and I can't figure out if this should be classified as curly or not. I do know nobody would ever give me a perm because you can't see it here, but like all of my underneath hair, like right here next to my ear and on the nape of my neck are like super coily curly. So nobody would ever give me a perm when I was younger because they're like, your hair is already curly, you just need to figure out how to work with it. But nobody would tell me how to work with it because they didn't have curly hair and they didn't know. So if you have any tips, I would love to hear them. But anyways, those, back to the traditions, that is one tradition that we really love in our family because it just helps, one, free up space on the counter and in the fridge, and it keeps us from indulging on sweets every day. So that's nice. And we do the same thing with like holiday candy. We keep it in the house for like a week, and then like we'll keep some and put away for like special occasions and treats and stuff. But we try not to keep a whole lot of sweets in the house just because it ends up causing more chaos for everybody than what it's worth. So that's a fun little tradition I wanted to share with y'all today. I was thinking about that this week, and I'll probably do a whole video on just like traditions my family does to build community and culture in our family. And that's something that's like really, really important to me and my husband, is making sure that we're building a life that our kids really love and that they want to bring their kids to one day and they want to come back to. And just a home with a culture of, we want to go back to that. We want to go back to our parents who intentionally loved us, and like nothing was ever done just because that's the easiest and that's how we've always done it, but because they were intentional with their thoughts and their ideas for our family. And we have regular like meetings, my husband and I, about like the way we want our family to be structured and like how we want it to look. And that has been really, really helpful to have those meetings or check-ins every now and then about like, this is kind of what I would like to see our family do. How do we implement this? But that's something that's really important to us, is doing those check-ins and saying, like, this is what I want to see our family as. Like, this is where I want to focus attention. Like, how do we get there? Also during these meetings or check-ins, which is really just like date night, we will talk about it, or every evening, pretty much every evening we will talk and catch up. And because I'm with the kids all day and I homeschool them and I'm here all day, and my husband is working 2 jobs, so he is not here all the time. So I really have to make sure I am informing him on things that we need to talk about. He's very good about being very intentional with our children, which is great. So he, has a really good relationship with them, even though he is gone a lot. But he does need me to kind of be the go-between sometimes and be like, hey, we're really struggling with this behavior, or hey, this kid is feeling a little down lately. We need to figure out like what is going on. So that is something we try to do with these check-ins. And we also talk about like, okay, this is what I want for our family, and how do we get there? We have even like a family like mission statement of like different characteristics we want to display for our family. And one of them is being like gracious and forgiving one another quickly. But anyways, we try to be, sorry, I keep starting the same thoughts over and over because my kids keep coming in and like they come first. So I've got to deal with that. And anyways, so part of our mission statement is to be loving to each other and forgiving and trying to have grace with one another. And that has been something we've really focused on this year, is trying to instill that in them and model that to them. And that's really hard, even as an adult, to be kind and tenderhearted and loving and forgiving of one another. Like it's difficult to do. And so we try really hard to model that to them, and hope that like in modeling that to them and teaching this to them, that we're instilling in them like, give grace to everybody you meet, not just our family. Be gracious, be forgiving, be kind. And also like learning to have that fine line of, don't be a pushover either, because like we have a 2-year-old who is kind of a tyrant, and my kids will be like, I'm being kind and forgiving to her and understanding when I just give her whatever she wants all the time, even if it's my book that I'm currently reading. And we've been really working on, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to give up everything to be kind and forgiving and loving, and you don't have to be a pushover. Like there is a way to be like, no, you can't have this right now. And regardless of how the 2-year-old acts, being kind in your response. And so like all of that's really hard, and it's really deep emotional things to learn. And so we're really working on that. So those are a couple of things that our family kind of does, especially as like a homeschooling family and one that's together all the time. We try to make sure we can live with the people we're with all the time and love each other and not just like put up with each other. And so I don't know, that's kind of what I've got for y'all today. It wasn't a lot. Would you like to hear more about how our family is kind of structured? Would you like to hear more about homeschooling or see more baking? My shorts are doing really good. Like, so if you've been watching my shorts, like, what do you like about them? What would you like to see more on there? Would y'all like to see my husband? He is in my shorts a lot because we do a lot of like just fun little quick things together when we are out together and stuff like that. So if you'd like to see more of that, let me know. I'm about to go and make sure all my children are okay because they keep running in here. And then my 2-year-old she's in her trying twos. She just turned 2 and she is just having a really hard time adjusting to all the new things she's learning. So she is being a tyrant and I need to go check on them. So anyways, thank you for tuning in and yapping with me as I get ready for piano lessons. I hope something I said was beneficial or you've learned something. If you would like any more of what I've talked about, just leave it in the comments and let me know what you'd like to hear me talk about more. Okay, have a great day.